Podcasting has quietly become one of the most powerful communication platforms available today. Every day, millions of people around the world put on headphones and choose to spend time listening to conversations, stories, interviews, and ideas. And what makes podcasting so interesting is something very simple: attention. In a world where most media competes for a few seconds of someone's time, where people scroll rapidly through social feeds, quickly scan headlines, and move constantly from one piece of content to the next, podcast listeners do something quite different. They slow down, they commit time, and they choose to spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes even over an hour listening to a person speak. That's an extraordinary level of attention in the modern media environment, and it creates something incredibly valuable: a deeper relationship between the person speaking and the person listening. In this short series, we're going to explore why podcasting works so well and why so many organisations, educators and brands are now turning to podcasts as a powerful way to communicate ideas. This is Podcasting That Works, a short series exploring how podcasts build influence, trust and meaningful audience connection. I'm Craig Burgess, founder of One Stop Podcast, where we help organisations design, produce and launch professional podcasts. In this first episode, we're going to explore a simple but important question: why does podcasting work so well? The rise of podcasting. Over the past decades, podcast has grown from a relatively niche medium into a global cultural platform. Today, there are millions of podcast episodes available across thousands of topics. You can find podcasts discussing business, culture, science, history, sport, education, technology, storytelling, and almost any niche subject you can imagine. But the growth of podcasting hasn't happened by accident. It's happened because the format fits naturally into the rhythm of modern life. Unlike video or written content, podcasts don't demand your full visual attention. They allow people to consume information while doing something else. People listen to podcasts while commuting to work, they listen while they're exercising, and they listen while cooking dinner. They listen while walking through their city or travelling long distances. Podcasting sits alongside daily life rather than interrupting it. And because of this, it's become what many media researchers describe as a companion medium. Podcasts accompany us through our day, but convenience alone doesn't explain the success of podcasting. What really makes podcasts powerful is the depth of engagement they create. Podcast listeners are not simply scanning headlines or flicking past short clips. They are choosing to spend meaningful time with ideas. That depth creates an opportunity for something that is increasingly rare in modern communication: thoughtful conversation. The power of voice. One of the most interesting aspects of podcasting is the role of the human voice. Voice is one of the oldest forms of communication we have. Long before written media, long before broadcasting, human societies shared knowledge through spoken storytelling. And even today, voice carries a powerful emotional quality. We hear tone, we hear rhythm, we hear pauses, we hear personality. All of these subtle qualities help us understand the person speaking in a much deeper way than text alone can provide. When someone speaks directly into a microphone, the experience for the listener can feel remarkably personal. Many podcast listeners describe the experience as feeling like they are sitting in the room with the host. Researchers often refer to this as a parasocial relationship. It's a psychological phenomenon where audiences feel a sense of familiarity with someone they regularly hear or see in media. Over time, listeners become comfortable with the voice of the podcast host. They begin to understand the host's personality. They recognise their humour. They understand their perspective. And as this familiarity grows, trust begins to develop. This is one of the reasons why podcast audiences can become incredibly loyal. Listeners often return week after week because they value the voice and insight of the host. In an age where trust in many forms of media is declining, podcasting has become one of the few platforms where authentic voices can still build meaningful credibility. Attention in a distracted world. To understand why podcasting works so well, it's useful to think about the broader media landscape. Modern media environments are dominated by speed. short videos, fast-moving timelines, rapid scrolling. Algorithms designed to keep us constantly moving from one piece of content to the next. In this environment, most content is consumed very quickly. People may see a piece of content for a few seconds before moving on. Podcasting operates very differently. Podcast listeners make a conscious decision to press play. They choose to spend time listening. And that decision creates a very different mindset. When someone listens to a podcast, they are often open to ideas. They are curious. They're willing to engage with conversation and thought. That makes podcasts an incredibly powerful platform for communication, because ideas need space, ideas need time, ideas need context. Podcasting provides that space. Why organisations are launching podcasts? Because podcasting creates attention, connection and trust, many organisations are now beginning to explore podcasts as a part of their communication strategy. Brands are launching podcasts to share insights about their industry and to build thought leadership. Creative agencies are using podcasts as a way to help clients develop deeper storytelling and content strategies. Educators are discovering that podcasting can help students develop confidence in communication and critical thinking. Even internal company communications are beginning to include podcast formats as a way to share ideas across organisations. In each of these contexts, podcasting becomes something more than simply a piece of content. It becomes a platform for conversation. It becomes a way of sharing expertise. It becomes a way of creating meaningful dialogue with an audience. But one thing is worth remembering. Successful podcasts rarely happen by accident. The podcasts that build audiences and create real value tend to have clear ideas behind them. They have defined audiences, they have thoughtful structure, and they are produced with care. So if we step back and reflect on why podcasting works so well, there are 3 key ideas worth remembering. First, podcasts create focused attention in a world full of distractions. Second, the human voice creates connection and trust in ways that many other media formats cannot. And third, podcasts create the space for deeper conversations and meaningful ideas. When those 3 things come together, podcasting becomes far more than just another content format. It becomes a powerful communication platform. In the next episode, we're going to explore how different organisations are using podcasts in practice, from brands and agencies to educators and creative teams. We'll look at the different ways podcasts can be used to share ideas, build communities and create long-term value. If you're interested in exploring podcasting for your organisation or learning more about how podcasts are designed and produced, you can visit onestop.podcast.com. Thanks for listening.